Tonight on the Round 5 Weekend Wake, we discuss the drought-breaking win over the Bulldogs. We ponder another bout of player injuries, and MEB takes aim at the football media. Turn the volume up because here we go.
No one knows what it's like to be the bad man, to be the sad man behind blue eyes.
No, that's not right.
That's music for the soul right there. Welcome back to the BigFooty Blues podcast for our Round 5 Weekend Wake. I'm ODN, and I'm pretty sure we have a much happier panel today. Joining me are happydude, ShanDog, and MEB. How are we today, folks?
Excited!
Woohoo! Energy level's good. So let's get to the reason for that happiness, shall we? Yesterday evening, Carlton 18-11-119 defeated the Western Bulldogs 13-13-91. For Carlton, Henderson kicked 5 goals, Waite 3, Murphy and Scotland 2 apiece. Gibbs, Allard, Bell, Yaron, Everett and Thomas all kicked a goal. And named in the bets for Carlton were Gibbs, Murphy, Henderson, Simpson and Curnow. Oh, who wants to go first and let us know what went down from their perspective?
First thing that went down was the Bulldogs.
Oh yeah.
Anything else to say, happy days?
No.
This party died.
Hang on, got any last year's stats for us, or?
Yeah, no, not at this time.
Okay.
That was a pretty good game.
How about
That's all you've got.
the sky is falling.
Pretty good game. We finally kicked more goals than behind. How's that? That's exciting.
It is pretty good. No, we'd only kicked, the most goals we kicked this year in a game was 12, and we had 13 before half time, so that was a pretty good indicator. Gibbs started off quite well, which I was really pleased about. Murphy led from the front foot, which is good. Curnow tried to play on with a broken leg. Yeah. If that doesn't show heart, really.
Absolutely. ShanDog?
Straight. Yeah, look, absolutely brilliant. It was. I was getting a little bit nervous towards the end, looking at how spent everyone was, but we held out, and that was a massive plus for it. How hard we worked, considering I went bananas about effort on the Thursday podcast, and they've definitely either listened or someone's passed it on to them because they showed effort in spades that game to run it out with all the injuries that we had, which I'm sure everyone's aware of. Just absolutely brilliant. I think kicking straight early was a massive confidence booster for us in the forwards. The delivery into those forwards as well was really good, especially the first and second quarter, which is what created heaps of that opportunity. So the goal kicking spread was really good. So we had as I said, the Hendo with 5, Waite with 3. The midfielders were chipping in as well. I reckon the only way it could have been better from that perspective is if Kaz had kicked a couple, but he still had a really good game, even though he didn't dominate. But his presence and the running he did, and especially chasing towards the end of the game as well, really contributed to the success of the forward line. So that was really good. Right across the park, I think everyone had a pretty good game.
MEB, how'd you see it?
Oh, I'm so excited. Lockie Henderson got his personal best career high 5 goals in one game, which is amazing. It was really good effort. And by the way, guys, how good is Robbie Warnock? Yes.
He is not a beanpole.
Agree with me. He tackled, he took marks, he ran around the ground, he was directing people.
Well, that's exactly... that's
this should be his baseline.
Yeah, that's what we said we wanted him to do. So
yeah, and he did it. So credit where it's due.
Yeah,
he had a good game. Yeah.
Great.
4 tackles and four 1%ers. That's a reasonably good effort.
4%.
And the 7 clearances. So that's
which
pretty.
were actually pretty effective.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good for a ruckman.
Yeah, so good on him. Can't criticise him this week.
Exactly. Thank you. That's all I wanted.
Yeah. Next week's a different.
No, don't be rude. Just be happy that somebody did what you asked them to do. That's all you need to do. You don't need to qualify it.
Name change to Rude Dude.
Oh my God. Anyway, back to the awesome, exciting game that we all witnessed. I know they said that they didn't change the game plan, but it looked like quite a different team out there. They looked a lot more composed, especially Bell. He made, his decisions with a much cooler head, I think, and wasn't just, getting rid of it any which way or holding on to it for too long. Like, he actually found good options, and I was really impressed with Bell. I think Rowe had an awesome game, and he hasn't really been given enough credit for how well he played. He only got 5 touches, but he did shut down whatever nameless dude he was on. So that really impressed me. Yep, Jones, and I think he needs multiple pats on the back for that. Yeah. And I think overall, Murphy really stood up and stuck it up everybody who's been saying that he needs to step down as captain all week, and he proved himself. So I'm very, very pleased with their effort.
Yeah, fantastic. I've got to agree. See, Murph was best on ground for mine. Purely the amount of contested ball he had, chipping in and kicking goals and breaking tackles to do so. And he picked up a fair bit of the ball himself, and he absolutely smashed Wallace. And normally Murph does struggle when he's being getting close attention. He smashed him to the extent he was subbed out, I believe, wasn't he, Wallace? Yeah. Yeah.
I think he put his hand up to come off.
Yeah. So look, and I think it all starts at the top too. Murphy had 12 tackles, so he was the game leader in tackle count by an absolute street. And when do you see that? So he's probably taken more of the criticism to heart than anybody, and we know our leaders have to lead from the front. So Murphy and Gibbs in that first quarter were absolute colossus. I think they had 10 possessions each at both over 80% efficiency at the time. Murphy kept up a pretty good efficiency rate, and Gibbs did drop away because he went a little bit more inside after a while. Look, and the fact that they did it without needing Judd to lift them, and that's what I was worried about, that they'd be hoping that Judd would come on and save them. So in that way, it was probably good that Judd wasn't on the ground at the outset, that he was the sub, purely because it meant that the guys who had been pretty slack for the first 4 weeks, they had to go and do it all themselves, and they had to take on that responsibility. And look, there was not one passenger out there, and we played for 4 quarters, and I don't think I've seen a 4-quarter effort from Carlton. I can't remember when the last time was. Even in our elimination final, we went missing for a quarter. We didn't go missing at all in that game.
Yeah, absolutely. There was one thing I wanted to sort of talk about as well. The game structure, which MEB mentioned as well. Now, Malthouse said after the game in interviews that they didn't touch it at all, and I'm wondering whether or not that a lot of people are probably questioning it. I think it might be true, but it could be because the strategy, and it's been said before that we weren't sort of really corridor adverse, like we weren't always trying to go around the boundary. It just turned out that that's how the players ended up having to use the ball because of the situation at the time. And I'm thinking maybe because the players were running harder, working together, gelling as a team a lot more, and they seemed to be playing on a lot more, it meant that they could turn in and actually hit targets through the middle. So it could be a bit of a chicken and egg sort of scenario. I don't know whether or not. Yeah. Yeah.
What I noticed last year, and even in the NAB Cup games this year, is when we were on and we're playing well, we did against Port as well. The game plan seems to be you come out of the back line and go out towards the wings because that's the safest position. If you turn it over, it can go out of bounds, and you don't get hurt on the rebound so bad. And you get to about centre ground, and then they turn and go inwards.
And look in,
into the corridor, and then go straight to goal that way. Because if you turn it over, down the corridor is still the quickest avenue back to goal and the hardest to defend, but you turn it over in your half of the ground. We did it last year when Malthouse first took over. with the NAB Cup games, and we did it when we were playing well last year and we got the space in time, and now we did it in this game when we ran, and we did it for the first quarter in the Port game, and we did it against Richmond when we came back. Which then tells me that the players aren't running hard enough to make that aspect of the game plan working, and we're having to stay on the boundary line to go into 50.
Yeah, that's what I wonder, yeah.
Yeah, that's how I've been taking it. And then when the players work hard enough, so they're going out to the boundary and then into the middle.
Yep. All about playing on quickly, isn't it? And presenting for each other.
Yeah.
Because I think it was mentioned on the boards, the fact that you'd think if you're playing on that quickly, you're more prone to making mistakes. But the thing is, because they're playing on so quickly, our players they're spotting up our players in space because the opposition haven't had a chance to react. So our efficiency rate goes up accordingly because you don't have to pinpoint a pass in amongst traffic because we've played on so quickly and we've created space by doing so. So you don't have to. You can kick it within 10 metres of a teammate and he's still going to get there. So it's. I hope. Look, we found the effort we wanted, and now we just need the consistency. But that sort of effort should be a minimum standard. Leave nothing out on the field, and we didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that seems to be the go for me. A lot of teams seem to be pushing us out wide.
Yeah, because we let them.
Yeah, exactly. So if we can use our speed and get on them like that, then we'll start to use a game plan in that aspect. We should be able to get over the Eagles, I reckon.
Yeah. And even if they're reading what we're doing and they're getting players back to try to cut us off, when you've got Henderson and Waite and Casbolt up forward, you're still creating the contest you need anyway to bring it to ground and still giving yourself a second chance. So they're all great contested marks. So look, I guess we just need to make sure that we can sew up those defensive spots down back and leave those guys up forward. I love the fact that we've got a three-pronged attack.
Yeah, same. Because that really allows, depending on the situation in the game at the time, one of them, like particularly a Waite or a Henderson, can really push up the ground and act as a link out of defensive 50 if it's sort of really contested. And then you've got those other tools to go to further down the ground as well. Even if one of them's leading up outside the 50, takes a mark on the wing and they can pump it long, we've got two tall marking targets down there. It's so much better to have than just one.
Yeah, and did you notice they were all doing it? They were all leading out. They were rotating who was going to go. Right. So the amount of times I saw all of those players up the ground, I saw Waite down near the defensive 50, setting up. I think he was the one that took a mark and kicked it into the corridor to set up for the Gibbs running goal from 50.
Yeah, a couple of times it was back there.
Yeah, so that I guess that kick up the bum really did wonders for Wadey because his work rate was immense as well. 15 players had above 66% efficiency, only one below 50%. Now, I gave some figures on that in one of our losses a couple of weeks ago, and it was a vastly different story. So, and just the fact that we won the contested possessions and tackles so easily just testifies to the work rate. So, stats, and I know Happy Dude's favourite saying is that mantra is you win it on the scoreboard, but those contested possession and tackle stats when they work in unison, they do paint a picture.
Yeah, they really do. On contested possessions, while I still had that, our highest contested possession getter was actually Gibbs this week.
Yeah, he was really doing the hard stuff.
Well, that's what I was saying. He was 90% efficiency at quarter time, but he'd only had a couple of contested possessions. Well, after quarter time, his contested possession count went right up. So, as indicated, he must have gone more inside, and his efficiency rate went right down because obviously when you're playing it's tight, you're not going to get that clean disposal. Whereas Murph's efficiency rate was great for the amount of ball contested possessions he got too. But I think the other stat that really stood out for me was the 17 marks inside 50, and 11 of them were between Henderson and Waite. it makes all the difference. And the fact that our defenders were able to, without Jamison there, our defenders were able to hold off what was a pretty average Doggies forward line.
Well, I mean, especially with Jamison not there and Henderson being forward.
Yeah,
they did really well to be quite junior defenders. Like, they did a really good job.
Cramery normally carves us up in the past.
I loved seeing White get all up in Cramery's grill.
Yeah.
That was hot.
And he can be a bit...
Sorry, guys. Forgot who I was talking to for a second.
Well, White can be a bit hit and miss, but from game to game. And even though he had a few kicked on him, I really like what he brings when he does play, which is what MEB was saying. He's really spirited and really up for the fight all the time.
Yeah, look, he was a good matchup for Cramery, so he was the late inclusion for Buckley, a late change for team balance reasons, and I was a bit worried because I thought Buckley would have been good for Dalhouse, and Dalhouse did actually have a really good game, but I think White was a perfect matchup because he's not too tall. Cramery's not. He's not a big forward. He's not that tall, and he does get out on his bike a fair bit, and so White was just the player to go with him. So, in the end, you've got to give it to. I still think Buckley would have been useful, but White in was vital to our defensive and forward structure in the end. Let's go on to a bit of a downer after all that up. Let's talk about injuries. Now, obviously the one that everybody's talking about is the hamstring injury to Judd, where he'd only been on the field for a few minutes, and in the third quarter after he was subbed on, and he copped a push going for a kick, and it was just one of those things. Hamstring went ping. He looks like he's going to be out for about 5 weeks. Curnow is going to be out for 6 weeks with a fractured fibula after slamming into a goalpost. He actually stayed on the field after that happened, and tried to run off a broken leg. Tommy Bell's going to be out for 3 to 4 weeks with a fractured finger. Now, he played on, and he was immense in that last quarter with his run when we had no legs left. He was bullocking the ball forward, and he was running just as well at the end of the game as he was at the start. And I think he was one of our prime movers in that last quarter because of that. And he did that with a fractured finger. So, there's some courage out there.
Yeah, it's a shame that it means that those guys and Curnow as well was absolutely dominating Liberatore and the other people that he was on it too. So it's a really shame. It really is a shame that he and Bell, after such great games, are going to have to be sitting on the sideline for a little while.
Yeah, with Curnow going down, does that then open the door for the forgotten man to come back into the side? And because he did well last year, Keisha.
Well, I think so, but I don't think he's quite at Curnow's level.
He's not at Curnow's level.
He's been one of our best three all year.
Yeah, big time. But he's not at Curnow's level. That's why he hasn't been playing at AFL level, because he's been kept out by Curnow. But this is a good opportunity for him to really get in and try and make his mark in the team.
Well,
I like what Keisha brings to the side.
Reports are that he was serviceable in the VFL, but not necessarily one of the best. I don't know whether you go with that hardened body or you maybe look at somebody like Nick Holman, who's been doing very well.
And then move Carazzo to take our number one tagging type role again.
Yeah. It'll be interesting, because we've lost 3 midfielders. And we can ill afford to lose that many midfielders. So, we do have a couple of others, and the VFL side, and I wasn't going to go into any detail on this, but they've won their 3rd straight game, and the midfield's been, very in form as far as our depth midfielders go. So, there are some choices there. it'll be interesting to see which way we go, but I guess we'll find out Thursday night. And just coming back to Judd's injury a little bit, haven't Carlton copped a caning in the media over that, and on BigFooty and on the main board?
Yeah.
You know, you brought him back too early. You know, it was selfishness, and he wasn't ready. And if he was ready, you wouldn't have made him sub. Well, he wasn't match fit, but he was actually. You know, he had trained well, and his conditioning was good. And even Juddy's come out and said the same thing. I think he said, and people still don't believe it. So Juddy's like, you know, I was really well conditioned. I hadn't done a lot of skills training with the team, but had done a heap of running and a heap of leg strength work. So there were no issues with conditioning. So, you know, the man himself knows his own body. Stop looking at, you know, all the Carlton haters looking at somebody to, you know, have a go at when you've got no clue.
He was off with an Achilles, not a hamstring. It's not like he's gone out and redone his same injury.
No, because they're saying that it was. They're saying it wasn't so much the fact that it was the different injuries. It was the fact that he was. He hadn't had enough conditioning, so he hadn't had enough miles in his legs, training-wise.
I thought they were trying to link the injuries together, because I don't even think it's the same leg that he's done.
No, they're trying to say that he's susceptible to soft tissue injuries because he hadn't trained enough, and that's not true. It's just not true. And the thing is, a lack of match fitness, as you know, and having a bit of a tank for AFL football, if you've been out for a while, is not the same as a lack of conditioning. So, you know, I'm pretty disappointed.
You know what I'd like to say about this? There's one thing, right? If you're not a doctor, and if you don't have the GPS and training rehabilitation statistics and program that Judd has done prior to coming into this game, and you're in no way involved with the club, then don't try and make a declaration of some kind stating it's just a fact that the club they've done this to themselves and it's their fault. Just don't.
There were even people there that claim they have the medical qualifications, and you don't know. There's a lot of different types on BigFooty. Even so, you know, they're basically saying that our doctors were incompetent. Juddy's words himself here. Look, I just got pushed by accident into a position that hamstrings can't tolerate. So it wouldn't have mattered if I had trained for 50 weeks or 6 weeks. It wouldn't have changed the outcome. And he said, you look at the GPS data, that speed that I was pushed at was twice as quick as anybody else moved for the night. So they obviously record...
Well, see, that's a blatant lie, because clearly Cramery was moving quick enough to push him.
No, yeah, but Cramery, once he pushed him, he created a gap, you see, so he propelled him forward.
Yeah. It's that old thing, if you're travelling at light speed and then fire a bullet.
Yeah, well, I'm a doctor, not a physicist.
ShanDog. All right, there you go. So, yeah, you know, haters out there, Carlton won. You don't like it. Juddy's injury was an accident. Get over it. We're moving on to next week.
Done.
Yeah. And with that, we'll move on to our next segments. It's time for On Fire and Under the Pump.
Pump it up when you don't really need it. Pump it up until you can't feel it.
Okay, On Fire and Under the Pump. It's hard to single out anybody as being on fire this week because last night was a real team effort. Right through the club, everybody's been on fire. They've all made the right noises. They've all appeared before the media and actually, you know, stood up and took their right whack. And the players have learned from it and they've come out fighting and they've played the way Mick wanted them to play, just to show that there is some, you know, unity in the team. And the guys were all tweeting about unity all through the week. So, you know, they really put themselves on the line and said they were going to stand up, and they did stand up. I can't fault anybody at the club this week. It's been really truly been a united effort. You know, right through to our senior players in the Northern Blues who are beating down the door to get a game. Everybody's doing so well, but I guess the person that was under the most pressure through the week was our skipper, and the fact that Mark Murphy's come out and he was best on ground in a lot of pundits' views. You probably, if you are going to single somebody out, you've probably got to hand it to him. That was real captaincy game. And doing under the pump this week, MEB. Who's under the pump?
Hello. Well, for me, who's under the pump is the media. So I was at the game last night, and the first thing I noticed when Jaddy got injured was that the little boy behind me and his father high-fived, they were Bulldog supporters, and said, "Oh, how funny is that? Jaddy's injured straight away." And I thought, that's a pretty awful attitude, but, you know, it's just one family. I can't really say anything too much about it. And then I get home and I'm excited by the win, so I check on the replay and I'm listening to the commentary and Jaddy gets injured and all the commentators start crowing about the injury. And it's not, oh no, Jaddy looks like he's hurt. This isn't great. He's only been on for a couple of minutes. They were yelling, he's cooked. He's done. This is a conversation point. Why did they put him on? And they actually sounded really excited, like they were gloating about the fact that one of our champions of the game was injured within 6 minutes of coming on. So if that's the attitude from people who are supposed to be professionals and calling the game, there's no wonder that there's 6-year-old little boys who think that it's hilarious when somebody gets injured on the field. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. It makes me sick that these people get paid to put their opinions out there for the common person to listen to and take on board, and they're excited that somebody's injured. And I'm just sick of people finding joy in other people's pain. I think it's disgusting.
Wow.
And that's who's under the pump for me.
Whoa. Well, we're going to have future segments.
Sorry?
Future segments. ShanDog shouts in MEB's mouth.
Yeah.
I can't help it. I'm normally so level-headed about this sort of thing and I'm so positive, but that just made me so angry that it's like, it makes me sick. It's disgusting.
And you know what? The commentators were actively barracking for the Bulldogs all night.
That was horrible.
Sandy Roberts, maybe not as much, but certainly Dwayne Russell and David King, I think. And they weren't getting the result they wanted. And so they find another reason to start a scandalous story about the Carlton Football Club because they weren't going to get that meltdown 0-5 headline they wanted. So poor form, but, you know, we've always known, any Carlton supporter knows those guys are no fans of ours and we're no fans of theirs either. So
yeah, I know their job is to pump up the viewer and sort of give every little thing that's happening on the field a real edge of drama and make it exciting and everything. But you can tell when it's that over the top bias commentating, really wishing that we lose, and you can tell it is because as soon as it becomes clear that we're not going to lose, suddenly they're all flat and Carlton deserve it. It's been a good game, sort of thing.
Like, they said we were lucky.
Yeah, well, actually, yeah, that call did come out a fair bit. Lucky to get frees and such. You're lucky
that their two best defenders were out. Well, we didn't have Jamison.
Yeah, our two best defenders weren't playing in the back line.
Yeah.
So shove it, Dwayne Russell.
Yeah. Yeah, look,
the segment's still going.
Sorry.
Any credit Carlton get is always begrudging. Anything we do well is always because the opposition were down. We never win a game on our own merits. And even if it was a game in which statistically we're dominating around the ground, they'll claim that we were lucky to get the win, whereas we're probably thinking we probably should have won by more. So, look,
there's no compliment sandwiches on the menu at Vizzy Park.
Yeah.
Vintage happy dude.
Oh, Isn't Jason Johnson do our catering at Vizzy Park?
He does, yeah. We'll write to him and ask him to put a compliment sandwich on the menu. As long as it's low carb, he'll be fine with it.
What would be the ingredients in a compliment sandwich? I'm just
happy dude.
Well, I don't know. We don't get them.
You'd have to have a wet.
They're not on the menu. I don't know.
I assume whatever's on a compliment sandwich would be laid on pretty thick.
Well, this week. Compliment chocolate sandwiches all around.
Oh, look, with that in mind, I'm getting hungry, and I think we're going to sign off. I don't know who's going to be back Thursday night, but certainly we'll have a crew of eager panelists waiting for you. Until next week, good night, happy dude.
Yeah, this podcast is toast.
Oh, no. Bad pun, bad.
Good night, ShanDog.
You caked it, happy dude.
And maybe you calm down yet. Good night.
See you guys.
See you all Thursday night. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Team old Carlton knows. With all the champions they like to send up, we'll keep our end up, and they will know that they've been playing against the famous old